Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Shukdev Goswami answered, one should control the sitting posture, regulate the breathing process by the yogic pranayam, and thus control the mind and senses, and with intelligence apply the mind to the gross potencies of the Lord, called the Virat Rupa. Purport. The materially absorbed mind of the conditioned soul does not allow him to transcend the limit of the bodily conception of self. And thus the yoga system for meditation, controlling the sitting posture and breathing process and fixing the mind upon the Supreme, is prescribed in order to mold the character of the gross materialist. Unless such materialists are able to cleanse the materially absorbed mind, it is impossible for them to concentrate upon thoughts of transcendence. And to do so, one may fix one's mind on the gross material or external feature of the Lord. The different parts of the gigantic form of the Lord are described in the following verses. The materialistic men are very anxious to have some mystic powers as a result of such a controlling process. But the real purpose of yogic regulations is to eradicate the accumulated dirty things like lust, anger, avarice, and all such material contaminations. If the mystic yogi is diverted by the accompanying feats of mystic control, then his mission of yogic success is a failure, because the ultimate aim is God realization. He is therefore recommended to fix his gross materialistic mind by a different conception and thus realize the potency of the Lord. As soon as the potencies are understood to be instrumental manifestations of the transcendence, one automatically advances to the next step, and gradually the stage of full realization becomes possible for him. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swarupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadhavetam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagat Pate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuve Vacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langaite girim yat kripatam aham vande Shri Gurun Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna everyone, welcome to the morning program, welcome to the morning class, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to serve. I request for the blessings of all the devotees assembled here. Jai Krishna Prabhu, Govind Prabhu, Param Karuna Prabhu, all the devotees, so that we can speak something worthwhile, and also devotees watching online. So this chapter, as we have been reading through devotees last few days, this chapter is entitled First Step in God Realization. And just a bit of a background to where we are. So this started from the previous chapter where King Parikshit is inquiring to Shukdev Goswami, and he's asking that what is the way of perfection for all persons, especially for one who is about to die. And to which Shukdev Goswami is answering that one who is desiring to be free from all miseries must hear and glorify the personality of Godhead, who is the super soul and controller, and who is the savior from all miseries. And then he further explains that how mind should become fixed in full transcendental consciousness. And then in the previous verse, which we were hearing from Prayojan Prabhu yesterday, that how King Parikshit inquired further, asking to describe in full detail how and where the mind has to be applied. So ultimately, this question, like Prabhupada mentions in the verse, that Maharaj Parikshit was already directly connected with the Super Soul, and he had no need to inquire about this, but he was inquiring for others' benefit. He himself was completely connected to the personal feature of the Lord. So this is how the mood of devotees are. Parikshit Maharaj is about to leave the body, but still he is concerned about others. Para dukha dukhi. He wants to know how others can also benefit who are not able to do this. So in the purport, Prabhupada is explaining about, he mentions a couple of times about materially absorbed mind, and he also mentioned about the conditioned soul. So as we know, when we talk about conditioning, when we're talking about conditioned soul, we generally think it is goodness, passion, ignorance. It's just 3 modes. But in one of the purports, Prabhupada mentioned it's much more complicated than that. When these 3 modes mix with themselves, it becomes 9. And then when this 9 mix further more, it becomes 81. And then it becomes mixed 4 more. It can go more and more. So the delusion arises more and more. So it's not that we can say mode of ignorance is for animals, mode of passion is for karmis, and what is left is for me, mode of goodness. I'm in the mode of goodness. It's not that. It's very, 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 very intricate and very, very mixed up. So we could be one of that 81. That conditioning could be any one of that. So we have to come out of that conditioning. And Prabhupada is specifically mentioning here about the materially absorbed mind. So I was just thinking, maybe you all can help us. What does it mean by materially absorbed mind? What is a materially absorbed mind, or how we can define a materially absorbed mind? Anyone wants to? Yes, Prabhu.
So much wealth I have today, so much more I'll get tomorrow. If anyone comes my way.
Yes, that's true. So much wealth I have today, so much wealth I'll gain tomorrow, and then if anyone comes my way, I'll just... Yes, Prabhu, that's true. So much of conditioning in material things, material wealth, and material possessions. Basically, this materially, like Jai Krishna Prabhu mentioned, that when its mind is materially absorbed, the thoughts are so much covered by, as we were saying in the purport, which Prabhupada says, dirty things. Even in yesterday's purport in verse, we were saying that there are so many dirty things like lust, anger, greed, envy, pride. These cover our thoughts, and mind becomes so much of materially absorbed. So it all starts from the thoughts. It all begins with the mind. Whatever choices we make in life, whatever actions we do, whatever decisions we are taking in our life in the day-to-day, it's all coming from what we are thinking. So it all comes from the mind. And so we have to be very much careful about the mind, and be very much careful what the mind is thinking. Like it says, watch your thoughts. Your thoughts can become your actions. Watch your actions can become your habits. And watch your habits can become your character. And watch your character can become your destiny. So thoughts are so important that whatever thoughts we are releasing from our mind, it can take us to a destination which we don't want to be in. So we have to be very, very careful of our thoughts, and we have to be very alert in what we are thinking. So all of these are manifestations from our thoughts. And that's why it always says that we should always begin with the end in mind. We should always think that what do you want to do, where we want to go, and from there we have to work backwards, and then we come to our thoughts, rather than thoughts directing us to where we are going, So it's always, we have to think that why I am doing what I am doing, It's always about our intention, more than the actions. It is about the thoughts. We are not even speaking about the words here, because we focus so much on words, talking sweet words. Yes, words are good, but words are good only if we are culminating them in actions, in the right actions. If they are not aligned, then it doesn't make any sense. So wherever we want to go, it's in our choice, it's in our hands. So we have to purify our thoughts and free our thoughts from those things. Like Prabhupada mentions here a word called thoughts of transcendence. He says, unless such materialists are able to cleanse the materially absorbed mind, it is impossible for them to concentrate upon thoughts of transcendence, because we are talking about meditating on the personal feature of the Lord. So thoughts of transcendence. So how we can do it? Again, in the translation, it says that with the intelligence apply the mind. So we have to apply the mind with the help of intelligence, because intelligence can help us to guide the mind in the right direction. Even in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says to Arjun, Vyavasatmika buddhi, ekahi kuru nandana, where he's talking about Vyavasatmika buddhi, And Prabhupada mentions to this verse, he says, Vyavasai also means business or occupation. So our mind will only go in the right direction when the intelligence is properly occupied. So intelligence has to be occupied in the right direction, and the business of the intelligence should be only one. And that business should be Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada said that I just took this one business of Krishna consciousness, and from this business from 40 rupees I made 40 crores in 10 years time, because that was just my one business, Krishna consciousness. So that's why it says those who are on this path are resolute in purpose, and their aim is one. So that's why Vyavasatmika buddhi is like having a single, we have to be resolute in our purpose, and we have to have one single aim. We could be doing anything in our day-to-day life, but as long as our intelligence is focused on Krishna consciousness, activities don't matter, it's the intelligence which matters. Sometimes we focus so much on the activities, what I'm doing by my body, what I'm doing by my senses, but where is the mind? Mind is somewhere else. Our service is here, but mind is maybe at home or thinking about money or something else, So that's why it doesn't help in our services. That's why we don't feel fulfilled in what we are doing, because that's why Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita, Man mana bhava mad bhakto. He has mentioned this verse 2 times in Bhagavad Gita, because that's so important, that engage your mind. Krishna is not saying that engage your body or engage your senses. That will happen automatically. Because when soul engages the intelligence will engage the mind, and the mind will engage the senses, and senses will engage the body. Because it's the ascending process. It's coming from the top, it's not going from the bottom. It's not that we first engage our body, then our senses, then our mind, then our intelligence, and then the soul. It doesn't work like that. So we have to first surrender ourselves, and then everything happens. So it comes from intelligence, and then the mind, and then we can do any service in Krishna consciousness, whatever our nature is. But our intelligence should be fixed in Krishna consciousness. So that's why we have to be absorbed in Krishna consciousness. This materially absorbed mind can only be free when we are absorbing it in spiritually, when we are taking it on a higher level. So it's the mind which we have to focus on. Also, there is this book, I'm sure all of you must be knowing, there's a book called Sri Mana Shiksha, which is called Preaching to the Mind by Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, where in the very first verse he mentions, he's praying to the mind and he's saying, please give up the pride. So to make our mind engaged, the first thing he's saying that please give up the pride. Because the reason the mind is so materially absorbed, it's because of the pride. Like we are saying that Prabhupada is saying that it does not allow us to transcend the limit of bodily conception. And that bodily conception gives rise to pride. So in the explanation, there are few qualities which were mentioned. It says illusion, deceit, pretense, ignorance, deviousness, and committing offenses. They are different aspects of pride. So when we are in pride, these are the aspects come through. And one of the aspects which I was thinking about is pretense. He talks about pretense. Like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that we should be careful about pretentious devotional service. So there's a verse in Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says, Karmendriyani samyamya ya asate manasa smaran indriyarthan vimudhatma mithyachara sa uchyate. So where he says, one who restrains the senses of action but whose mind dwells on the sense objects certainly deludes himself and is called a pretender. Mithyachar. Mithya means false and achar is behavior. So if we are engaging our senses, even if we are restraining the senses of action, but the mind is certainly dwelling on the sense objects, so then we are just doing pretentious devotional service. The mind has to be focused. It's not about so much about the senses of action. So that's something which we have to be careful of. And Krishna specifically says, Vimudhatma, that person is foolish. And Krishna uses this word again where he says, Ahankar Vimudhatma Karta Aham iti manyate. So because of this ahankar, because of this pride, the foolish soul thinks, I am the doer. Ahankar Vimudhatma Karta Aham iti manyate. So this pride can entangle us so much in this bodily conception that we think that we are the doer. I am the doer. And that's the nature of the materially absorbed mind. And also it gives rise to this mentality of Dhritarashtra, when we see in Bhagavad Gita, very much the first verse of the first chapter, where Dhritarashtra says, Mamaka Pandavascheva, me and mine, where it's all about me and mine, because that is coming from the pride. And this me and mine thinking, we apply everywhere. It doesn't matter whether we are doing any material service or we are doing any spiritual service, because we are identifying with ourselves. It's all about me and mine. It's about my service. It's about my thing. It's about my situation. Everything around that. So much so that even when we come to the temple, we think it's my temple. It's my area, and it's my Krishna. We think Krishna is mine, which is not bad. Think Krishna is mine, but that's not how our mood should be to pray. When we pray to Krishna, we say, Krishna, from today onwards, I am yours. It's not that Krishna is mine, because that gives us pride. We have to have that serving mentality, not the enjoying mentality. So, I am yours. That's how we pray to. And anyway, because we should know that even Krishna doesn't belong to us. Who does Krishna belong to? Krishna se tomar, Krishna dite paro, tomara shakti ache. Krishna belongs to the Vaishnavas. Krishna belongs to those devotees who can give us Krishna. And our position is Amito Kangal, Krishna Krishna Boli, Dhai Tava Pache Pache. We don't have that strength to get Krishna. We don't have that love for Krishna. And we get it through the devotees. We get it through the association of devotees. We get through Vaishnavas. We get through Acharyas. So that should be our mood. That should how we have to program the mind. We have to constantly program the mind this way. And speaking about the mind, I was just thinking of, this is my way of thinking. I was just trying to split the words mind. So mind is M-I-N-D. So M for memory, I intelligence, N navigation, and D dealings. So if you see all these four things, mind controls so much. And mind decides which way mind takes us. We have so many memories in our life. We have good memories. We have not so good memories. But depending on the state of the mind takes us maybe more so towards not so good memories. We don't remember good memories so much, but we have this tendency of focusing on not so good memories. There was actually a survey done once about there was a client survey, and in that they found out that if there is a happy client, a happy customer, he will go and tell 2 or 3 other customers about your service. But somebody who is not very much happy or who has a complaint, he will go and to tell to 10 other customers about that. So the tendency is that appreciation is not so much, but we have this tendency of having sway towards bad memories. But again, how we program the mind, it's up to us. And then intelligence. So mind, like we're discussing, that mind works in conjunction with intelligence. So mind has the tendency that it can help the intelligence and take us forward, or mind can also bring our intelligence down. It can pull us down. It's so strong. It's said that mind is very, very strong. So it can overpower the intelligence also. And then N is for navigation. So how we navigate in our life, how we go through in our life, it's all coming from the mind. Whether mind is taking us on the spiritual path or mind is taking us on a materialist path, it's the mind, how the mind is programmed from what we have, the past impressions, what we have, what mind has absorbed and where the mind is attracted. So that's the power of the mind to take us wherever the mind wants to take. And then D, I thought, is for dealings. So how we deal with others, how we deal with devotees, how we deal with people around us. Again, that's what we think in the mind. what we have made an impression about others, how we have programmed ourselves. So that is, I just that was just a point. I thought that how important it is to focus on this particular aspect, because Prabhupada says that mind, like how we say human form of life is like a junction. Like we have got this human form in 8.4 million species of life, and this is a junction. This can take us up or this can take us down. Similarly, mind in our body is the center of elevation. So mind has the capacity to take us up or take us down. So even after coming in this human form of life, if we have not controlled our mind, or if we have not focused on the mind, then we are losing the point. We are missing the point. Our human form of life, we might miss it because we have not programmed our mind. So it's so important to focus. There are so many bhajans, Vaishnava prayers on the mind. Bhajao re mana Shri Nandanandana Abhay Charana Ravindare. So we have to be fearless. One of the things of the mind is to be very much fearful. Mind generates this fear that we are not able to take up spiritual practices. We have the knowledge, we know everything, but somehow we are not able to progress because mind is somehow stopping us. There's Gyan and there is Vigyan. There's knowledge and then there is applied knowledge. So to apply that knowledge, we need the help of the mind. Mind will help us to take us through. So I thought that's something I wanted to share. But yeah, I think we are lucky that we have a nice process here that we can train the mind. This is all about training the mind. Prabhupada has given us this process. Prabhupada has given us this chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and we can feel that. How much it has changed, and how much we have benefited from us. Prabhupada says it's like, when we are eating, when we are hungry, as in when we eat each bite, we feel how much. Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda ki jai, Shri Shri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ji ki jai, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki jai, Shri La Prabhupada ki jai. So, when we follow this process, we ourselves feel that it's working on us. When we are, when we are chanting, as we are reading Prabhupada books, we are in the association of devotees, we are taking guidance from seniors, we can see that slowly, mind comes to that stage where we feel that we have the control over the mind. We might not have full surrender, but we know this process is working for us. So we just have to stay in this process, and we just have to carry on in this process, and that will help us. So just was reading something from Giriraj Maharaj's book, I'll Build You a Temple. So how it says that Prabhupada personally demonstrated us this, that how to be so much focused and control the mind by simple living and high thinking. So I'll just read a few lines from there. There was a pastime about Prabhupada giving importance, teaching the disciples and devotees. So it says, Prabhupada knew how important Mangala Arti and the rest of the morning temple program was for us. And when he noticed that some of us were coming to Mangala Arti late and some were not coming at all, he became very upset. So one morning, even though he was somewhat frail in health, he got up at 4 o'clock and came out in his gamcha, a thin cotton towel wrapped around his waist, sat down under the hand pump and took on ice-cold bath, just to encourage us to get up, bathe and go to Mangala Arti. His action had a profound effect on all of us, and we felt so ashamed that from that morning on, we just couldn't sleep late anymore. So that shows how Prabhupada is like, he was so much controlled and how much he was giving by his example to teach us that how we also have to control our mind and focus on things and do whatever is needed. And Prabhupada has given us these teachings. It's so wonderful that it's not Prabhupada, even his followers are giving by his own example. They also show us, they also teach us that, when the test comes, we can pass the test based on these teachings, last month actually a recent example I have in my mind is of His Grace Janakinath Prabhu. And we just got a recording of a Zoom meeting where Janakinath Prabhu just was doing a final goodbye to everyone. I don't know if you have all seen that. I just saw a little portion of that. I was a bit actually hesitant to see it because I was not knowing what's going to happen there. And when the call started, and Janakinath Prabhu was his usual self, smiling and very much in high spirits. So I thought maybe it's the wrong call I'm logged into. It's not the one where he's going to do a final goodbye, maybe, So I was just see what happens. And then slowly, Chandramouli Maharaj was there, all the disciples was there on the call, and slowly other devotees were coming and saying their appreciation for him, like talking to him and just saying their final goodbye. And Janakinath Prabhu was in that situation also. He was personally appreciating each and every devotee. Like he was having that personal interaction, mentioning, he had that remembrance, he had that memory very much fresh, and he was just thanking everyone. And then obviously there was one Mataji, she was quite in grief and feeling very much separation, and she was saying that, oh Janakinath Prabhu, you are leaving us, but we know where you're going is in a better position. And then I realized that yes, this is something very serious. They are talking about like the last call. And then there was another god brother of Janakinath Prabhu. He came and he was also very much in grief, and he was saying that Janakinath Prabhu, I'm thankful to you. You taught me Krishna consciousness. You taught me this. So although he was not able to speak because it was Roboto Prabhu, the Rishabh Prabhu, who is now initiated, and he was the repeater for him. So Janakinath Prabhu responded, he appreciated, he said thank you, and then he still had that sense of humor at that point of time also. I can't remember clearly, but he said something like, I only have one regret, that I couldn't teach you driving. You didn't learn driving from me. So he was still in that situation where he knew that this is going to be the final call with those devotees and disciples. He was such an controlled mind that he was so much focused, and by his example I could see that he was teaching us that this is the final lesson, this is the final test which we have to all pass through, by having that controlled mind, by having our absorption for higher purpose. I think that's we learn from devotees, and we follow this path through sadhu sangha and Vaishnav seva, and under the guidance of Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. So that's all from my side. I can stop here, and I do beg for forgiveness for any of the mistakes. And if there's any corrections, I welcome any corrections, any suggestions. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhu. So memory, intelligence, navigation, and dealings. Thank you, Prabhu. Oh, Jai Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you. Wonderful class. Even an old man can learn something new. The class was basically about the mind, but we also know that Arjuna says it's more easier to control the wind than the mind. So words come out quite easily, I was wondering anything practical you can say how to control the mind, Prabhu. Thank you.
Okay, Prabhu, thank you. That's quite a difficult question for me, because I'm also learning how to control the mind. I'm also very much a student of this process. But as I said, that controlling the mind is a process. It might not happen overnight. It might not happen in a day, depending on what impressions we have of our mind from the previous lives or even in this life, what association we have got, what experiences we have got. So mind could be in a situation where we don't know where mind is. But we have to make a start on this journey. We have to begin this journey of controlling the mind at some point. And that is through this process, when we are chanting this Hare Krishna Mahamantras sincerely, and we are trying to do it offenselessly. We are trying reading Prabhupada books, because Prabhupada has so many messages for us, and these are all teachings to the mind. So following the process, being with devotees, taking the association of devotees, serving the devotees, and just overall just following this process. helps us, at least if not fully controlled, at least helps us to bring to a platform where we know, where we have the conviction that this will work for us, and we can carry on. If not in this life, maybe next life we'll be able to do it. But at least we have that, we are convinced about this, that this is what it works. We don't need to go anywhere else to control the mind. But maybe anyone else can add or correct me, or maybe Prabhu, you can give us the right guidance on that, because you have much more experience, so you can throw some light on that. It will be helpful for all of us.
Thanks so much, Prabhu, for your class. I just had a question. There could be situations, as we're trying to, grow in our Krishna consciousness, where we fail to control the mind, and we probably fall back into old habits, or we fall from our practice, or we make mistakes, etc. I was going to ask, and then when that happens, as we carry on in our practice, there's like a disturbance in the mind constantly, and this can really frustrate us as we're trying to kind of progress. At times you might feel hypocritical in front of the lordships, in front of the devotees. What kind of mindset should we have, even whilst we make mistakes, to kind of still trudge on with confidence and with enthusiasm in our own devotional practice?
Thank you. So Prabhu, that's an ongoing struggle for all of us. It's a battle which we are all going through. Again, we have to take shelter of the scriptures, take shelter of devotees. In Nectar of Instruction, it says there are three things which are very important, which is Utsaha, Nishchay, Dhairyat. So we come to Krishna consciousness with so much of enthusiasm. We like the process, but our enthusiasm is always tested. And to support the enthusiasm, we need determination. We have to be Nishchay, we have to be determined. And that's why we're talking about determination. Again, but when we are determined, it will be again tested, as you are saying, that there could be situations, and that has to be supported by patience. Utsaha, Nishchay, Dhairyat. We have to be dhira, we have to have that patience. But that's very difficult. I remember I saw this poster somewhere where there a small child is praying to God and saying, God, grant me patience, but please hurry up. So we want patience, but we can't wait. Basically, that's the situation we have. So, but we have to develop that. Somehow we have to carry on. We know that because if we are convinced that this process will work, even if we are failing, even if we are having small slips and trips, but we know that Krishna is very merciful. Prabhupada is very merciful. Prabhupada has accepted us, irrespective of whatever we are, whatever our background is. So we just have to make sure that we rectify our mistakes, try not to repeat our mistakes, but then carry on. It is chaotic. The material world is chaos, full of chaos. So it's not straightforward. Like Jai Krishna Prabhu was saying, that it's not, speaking is very easy, but when it comes to actually applying, and that's where the test of our character is. And we might fail, but we have to again get up and we have to still carry on. We have to still continue somehow. But that will happen with the association of devotees, because devotees encourage us so much, devotees inspire us so much. So we have to take shelter of devotees. We have to be with devotees. Anyone else wants to correct this?
Prabhupada said, Krishna consciousness is a joyful process, chanting, dancing and feasting. So they asked Prabhupada, is there challenges in Krishna consciousness? So Prabhupada said, the challenge is to come to mode of goodness. That's a challenge.
Yes.
They have to cultivate mode of goodness. And that's the solution to the problem.
Yes.
And everything will become clear.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. No, I was just reflecting on different questions coming about the mind, and of course that's it's a very deep topic, it's a very practical topic as well. But I think one of the things that reminds me at the moment is the discussion between Jad Bharat and King Rahugana. There's a lot of discussion, and there's a lot of commentary there about the mind. And in the last in the last text, Jada Bharat comments that the mind is not factual, but it's very strong. And then he says that the only way we can control is taking the shelter of the Supreme Lord. And it ends with the last sentence there, which says, "Do that with great care." So he says, "Do that with great care," because we are serving the Lord. That's the only way we can actually control the mind, because even Prabhupada says that mind is very difficult to control, but the only way is it gets controlled when we engage it with Krishna. And for me, of course, when Jada Bharat talks about that do that with great care, actually is what we all have to be very careful about how we serve, how we engage ourselves, and this is the best way then we can engage the mind and then focus it, rather than actually kind of consciously working upon controlling it, then engaging it in the right direction is how I see it. Like it's like children, we don't tell them if they get stuck with something, we don't actually tell them, okay, don't do this, but we actually just divert them in the right positive direction. That's how I feel it can be done. Thank you.
I think it's 8:30. I don't know if we have any more time, but maybe we can stop here. No? Thank you very much. Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.